Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to News Dose, and after months of rumors and leaks, the PlayStation will hold their own event in the month of May. Well, we finally got it. The PlayStation State of Play is done and over, but was it actually worth the anticipation? And, well, it kind of depends. Most of this showcase, if I'm being completely honest about things, I don't think was particularly strong. But there were still a few games that I thought was very exciting, and their final announcement, I thought that's really what made this showcase worth it. That final announcement was just absolutely amazing, and really just heightened the entire event, in my opinion. We'll get into all of that here in just a moment, but I want to pair this video with another announcement that Sony just made before the event, because I think this is really important in context of everything, not just now, but also going forward. So do make sure to stay tuned for that. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But let's just get right into this PlayStation State of Play, and they opened it up with their new first-party title, Concord, and the rumors were absolutely true. This game is heavily, and I mean heavily, inspired by Guardians of the Galaxy. The sense of humor, the design, and just absolutely everything feels like it came straight from Guardians of the Galaxy. It was almost to the point like, hey, if we can't get the license for it, we might as well just go ahead and build our own version. That's kind of what this trailer felt like. Now, seeing its gameplay and the cinematic, though, I think people are going to be kind of split on this one. But for me, personally, I thought it looked fun. I previously had zero expectations going into this event, which, to be fair here, their first teaser was honestly kind of strange, and Firewalk doesn't exactly have a reputation for these type of games either. But from what they showed today, I thought it looked pretty decent. It's really a mix of Guardians of the Galaxy, as I just mentioned, with Overwatch-like gameplay. The cinematic itself I thought was charming, and even though it is a multiplayer game, it sounds like there will be some kind of an emphasis on its story, so I liked its tone, if anything else, and the gameplay looks like it has some potential as well. The thing about this game, though, is that it's entering a very established, competitive market, which is tough for any kind of new IP, but what really puts this game at a disadvantage compared to those is Sony's decision to make it a paid game. Unlike a lot of its competitors, it's not going to be free to play. Now, to be completely fair, though, that could tone down a lot of the microtransactions that we so often see, so you can kind of view this as a good thing as well if you look at it from that point of view. In my own personal opinion, Overwatch was better when it was a paid game. So, you can kind of take that as you will. But we're not going to have to wait all that long to see for ourselves and whether or not Concord is any good. It's officially set to release for the PlayStation 5 and PC on August 23rd, and there will be a beta before that. So go ahead and mark your calendars and keep an eye out for those pre-orders if you do want to jump into that beta. Now, speaking of PC, though, God of War Ragnarok is officially heading over to PC as well on September 19th. So, there you go. That's a major announcement for anybody on PC. Though that is one thing that we do need to talk about before we continue. There's been a lot of discussion about Sony's future plans when it comes to PC, and there's always that speculation on whether or not they'll ever do day one releases for their big single-player games. And, well, Sony outright answered that question. This was during their business event yesterday, and let's just go check their statement here, which reads, "We have a dual approach here. On the live service side, we are releasing our titles simultaneously day and date on PlayStation 5 and PC, but with our tentpole titles, our single-player narrative-driven titles, as you saw on the presentation, the backbone of what PlayStation Studios has delivered in recent years and our history, we take a more strategic approach and we introduce our great franchises to new audiences. We're finding new audiences that are potentially going to be very interested in playing sequels on the PlayStation platform. We have high hopes that we are actually able to bring new players into PlayStation at large, but into PlayStation platforms specifically." So, in other words here, we shouldn't expect their single-player games to release on PC day and date anytime soon. So for now, we can go ahead and put that debate to rest. It looks like their plan is to have live service games day and date on PC, and for their single-player games, they still want to attract people to their consoles specifically. However, they revealed another PC game here, and that was for Until Dawn. This is their remake, which I think looks okay. I know this is a cult classic and everything, but for a remake, its visuals don't necessarily wow me, and I'll just kind of say that. For fans of the original, though, it does appear there are new scenes, and I think for that reason, it makes the remake a little bit more interesting. Even better here is that it's officially set for a fall release, and, that was kind of the big thing about this event. Everybody's been wondering what exactly they have planned for the second half of 2024, and they gave us that answer today. 2024 might not necessarily hold their next typical story-driven blockbuster title that'll sell 10+ million units, but I'll tell you one thing, they might actually have something even better, and that's a brand new Astrobot game. This announcement legitimately stole the show. This was their final announcement, and honestly, this game looks flat out amazing. I mean, you all probably know that I'm a big fan of the first two games. I've talked about that various different times on the channel. I honestly do believe that they're some of the best 3D platformers ever made. You can quote me on that. And ever since the release of Astro's Playroom, I've been calling for them to get a real opportunity with a traditional PlayStation 5 release. I was worried there for a while that they would be shoehorned onto the PlayStation VR 2, but no, that's not the case here. We're getting a legitimate sequel to Astro's Playroom, which means the DualSense controller will play a major role once again, which, hey, I'm perfectly fine with that. Astro's Playroom really takes what's special about the DualSense controller, and it just makes it into a fun, unique game. I mean, the gameplay is actually great. There's really nothing forced about the DualSense controller. It's just fun, and if anything, it just adds an extra layer, and now we're just going to kind of see them do that even more with this new game. Now, that's something that a lot of people are probably going to ask about this game, though. Is this free to play like Astro's Playroom? And no, it's not. It will be a traditional release, which appears to include a physical release as well. That is a big, big win, in my opinion. And it will launch on September 6th. Pre-orders will go live on June 7th. And the fact that PlayStation doesn't have any other big first-party games this year, maybe that will shine more light on Astro, which is more than deserved, in my opinion. Now, as for the gameplay, though, it sounds like it's going to be quite a bit bigger than Astro's Playroom. They revealed it'll have 6 different galaxies spanning over 80 levels in search of Astro's scattered crew. It'll also have unique planets from lush forest, sandy beaches, hot volcanoes, to more surprising locations such as a gigantic hourglass or the canopy of a singing tree. It'll have over 15 new abilities taking full advantage of the DualSense controller. Like I said before, we're going to get even more of that in this sequel. I'm very interested to see what else they can do with the DualSense controller, because I thought it felt amazing in that first game. It'll also have over 70 new enemy types. Yeah, they're going all out, with just everything on this game. It'll also be packed with die and retry levels to test your reflexes for those looking for a challenge. That's good news, in my opinion. And it'll even double down on the number of PlayStation character cameos. In fact, based on the trailer that we saw, it appears that the cameos will be a little bit more involved in the sequel. This is a true PlayStation multiverse game, and I almost wonder if you'll get some of their abilities, which could actually be really cool. I want to see how that's going to work with its gameplay. Again, though, this game is shaping up to be something incredibly special for PlayStation fans, which, honestly shouldn't be a major surprise if you played the first 2 games. Those games were already special in their own right, and I'm just thrilled to see a third one get announced here, and for it to be a traditional PlayStation 5 release. I just hope it gets the recognition that it deserves. All in all, though, those were the big first-party announcements for PlayStation. Concord and Astro are the 2 games to keep an eye on for 2024. And while Concord is a little bit more of a mystery here, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Astrobot is a surprise Game of the Year contender. That's how I feel about this game right now. I honestly would not be shocked at all. Seriously, do not sleep on this game. Now, just because that was it for the first-party games, though, that doesn't necessarily mean they don't have any other exclusives, and they do have a pretty big third-party exclusive as well, being Silent Hill 2. Of course, this is one of the most beloved horror games ever made, and we got an update for its gameplay here. It looks pretty creepy, as you would expect, but the big confirmation was its release date. It's officially planned for the spectacular month of October, being October 8th. This will make for that perfect Halloween game. So combine Silent Hill with Concord and Astrobot, and Honestly, that's not a bad lineup for the second half of 2024. For that matter, I know there's a lot of focus on Sony's first-party games, where are they all at? But if you look at 2024 as a whole, they offered some big-time exclusives this year, whether that be for something like Stellar Blade, Helldivers 2, that's been a huge success for them. There was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that's one of the highest-rated games this year, or there's even Rise of the Ronin. So despite not having that big first-party blockbuster this year, they've consistently given their fans something to look forward to, and I think the second half of 2024 just kind of continues that with games like Astrobot, Silent Hill 2, and Concord as well. I mean, we need to see how these games turn out, but I think that's a pretty solid 2024 on paper. Now, as for 2025, though, that's going to be the next question. That still remains a bit of a mystery, but we did get an updated look at Monster Hunter Wilds, which will release next year. This new gameplay trailer, though, really emphasized how dynamic their new world will be in Monster Hunter Wilds. This is more of an open world style of game, and I feel like that's what they really wanted to showcase here. They didn't just want to show the monsters because, of course, they're the star of the show, but they also wanted to highlight how the world impacts the gameplay and the monsters that lives in it, because it's also its own living, breathing ecosystem. I mean, we'll have to see how that meshes into its gameplay. But if anything else, I thought the trailer did a pretty good job at showing the player some of the possibilities that lies within its world. Now, mounted combat also seems to take a very important role in this game, and just as a confirmation here, all weapon types will return, so don't worry about that. I want to hear specifically from you Monster Hunter fans out there, though. How do you feel about the new Monster Hunter gameplay? I think it looks similar, but also different at the same time. So I definitely want to hear y'all's thoughts in the comments below. Overall, though, those were my main highlights for this event. I thought for the most part this was honestly kind of an average event. Not a whole lot stood out as exceptional, but Astrobot really does look absolutely amazing, and I thought that announcement alone made this event worth it. So I think I'll give Astrobot an A++, and then the event as a whole, I'll give it a C. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but do let me hear your letter grade in the comments below, and until next time, peace out.